As an architect, I always ask myself why it is that I love a building or a street, both the places that I'm familiar with and some places I'm seeing for the first time. So indulge me. Let's try to unlock some of the particular secrets that make us love and feel safe in our great cities. And for that matter, what might make us hate them. How you enter a building helps to tell the story between the inside and outside worlds. Your personal monologue you're telling yourself while being out and about in the neighborhood, flanked by the buildings around you, each with a story to tell about its own interior world. These stories are crucial to our own feelings about the place that we live in or happen to be visiting. So we'll take 2 episodes to look at this specific notion, considering how entering a building helps us to understand some of the things that we mostly don't give much thought to. I'm an architect, decades into my career. I love the collective beauty of great streets and public places, and how a collection of buildings can participate in the even greater work of architecture, the great public places and great outdoor rooms of our cities. I've mentioned the 1972 book, Defensible Space. This book looks at how crime rates are affected by the design of buildings and how the layout of these buildings affects their neighborhoods and the cities as a whole. The discipline offered up by this study provides an objective and organized way of looking at the characteristics of both indoor and outdoor spaces. It has informed the work that I do, both in a direct way and more in the abstract sense. It helps me to understand that the buildings that I design perform in ways that we architects are not usually trained to understand. It contributes to the greater body of architecture and how we build, and therefore contributes to the greater society and culture. Defensible Space offers a methodology to create environments that offer a feeling of safety and a sense of well-being. A key takeaway of the book is the importance of the zone of responsibility around each living space and building. If an inhabitant or a group of inhabitants has a sense of responsibility for what goes on outside of the interior space that they are in, both the outside and the inside become inherently safer, and the inhabitant or inhabitants feel safer. The arrangement of buildings and how you enter them and the configuration of the surrounding outdoor spaces is a major thesis of the book. I say more well-being for most people equals better cities. So I offer the following. My notion is that the defensible space idea can extend to some of the other feelings and issues that may lend to a sense of well-being to a building occupant. Here's an example. Imagine a morning waking up, getting the first notions of how your day is going to go. You're not just reassured that you won't be the victim of crime that morning, but the information you're getting from the outside is telling you how to greet the day. You may be looking out with your coffee and your own little piece of beauty outside your window. Just beyond the day's activities in the public world are just getting going. You're not peering at a blank wall or a sidewalk that is 9 inches away. Instead, you have a zone of well-being. This zone of well-being can be humble, but if where you live or work has it, it changes your life. Understanding entry and transition helps us to get the creation of a wonderful neighborhood or a street right. If you agree that human connection is the key to well-being and the best future for our world, then you believe that everyone has some obligation, fulfilled or not, to contribute to the street and the neighborhood. Translation: every home and building needs to have something to offer to every street and every public place that each of these streets stands next to. This zone of responsibility, taken to the extreme, can completely filter out the outside world. If you have the means, you can have a doorman, or you can have a neighborhood private security agent patrolling the street outside your hedgerow in their Crown Victoria. And you can pretend that the outside doesn't exist. For some, maximizing the enclosure of this zone gives the ultimate feeling of well-being. For these people, maxing out privacy and ignoring the obligation to the street is an absolute right, given to them as evidenced by the abundant resources they have managed to acquire. Defensible Space wasn't particularly written about prosperous, low-density neighborhoods, but it may be the easiest way of illustrating how the zone of responsibility can become the zone of well-being. Remember that the first principle of Defensible Space is to create this zone of responsibility. If you decide just to build a wall around the zone that you're trying to create, you've achieved a modicum of safety. The inhabitants encased in the wall may crave this control and isolation that they've achieved, and they may feel some sense of well-being. But they've also just moved the walls of this inner environment further out, and you might say that they have effectively eliminated the defensible space zone. Here's a house near where I live. This home used to be visible from the street, partially obscured by trees. Now, in its remodeled and elevated state, it's completely walled off by hedges and gates that look like nice service entrances. Nothing to see here. Move along. It's a common practice around Southern California to wall off the residence of the wealthy from the outside, creating streets that are nothing more than leafy tunnels. There is surely a feeling of well-being within the hedge, but there is mostly a definite lack of community towards its surroundings. No effort at all to make a common architecture or build a neighborhood. The entrance to this building, in principle, does not exist. So, this must be an episode about a house with no entrance, in a series about entering buildings. In a discussion about defensible space, we're talking about a place that effectively has no zone of responsibility. Defensible space zones are not just there to claim tacit ownership and collective responsibility. Not there just to make a better outer wall to an inner sanctum, but also to create a zone of sociability and real well-being that brings. I believe that there is a contract between the private realm and the spaces in and around buildings with the public spaces and the streets and neighborhood. This is obvious and extremely important if you believe that people are better together than apart. Great streets and neighborhoods are a great gift to cities and the people who live in them. In the next episode, we look at what we expect in a neighborhood with lower density, how these expectations might change from place to place, and how understanding zones of responsibility with the focus on well-being might teach us how to make greater outdoor rooms and help us all come together. Thanks for being a part of the Crafted City.